Welcome to my house and my new car. Okay, just kidding. But let's just imagine maybe it would be your house in your car. Let's start this imaginary journey with the BMW 8 Series Gran Coupé with a full tour on exterior and interior, and today also the driving experience here on Autogefühl. And as you know, this dream tour on Full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go. Please subscribe if you haven't done so far, so we can always keep you updated. Here, the new 8 Series Gran Coupé. In the front, very strong appearance, white double kidney. Here in this shadow black pack with all the black accentuations, all the vertical black front grille. Headlamps really horizontally drawn and come LED as standard. Optional with the laser light, you can see here also with those blue accentuations for a special high beam function and the really impressive daytime running light we can see here. This color here is called Frozen Brilliant White, and it is a matte white color. So you can also hear how I feel it. I really love those matte paints, also matte gray paints and so on. They just look so spectacular, and they also somewhat keep cleaner when it's just raining a little bit, then it's all clean again. The only disadvantage is when you have a scratch, you cannot polish it. You have to repaint or replace whole parts, so that can get very expensive. But even more so than for your accident partner, for example, or for the insurance when they keep on location. So, and then really strong lower air intakes right there. Overall, a very very strong design focus. Also here on the front hood, signaling the strength of all the engines underneath. Of course, there are no 4 cylinders in that one. This one is still, let's say, rather an old school deal, but you can always see from the front, this one here is the design object of BMW. 5 meters 08, 16 foot 8 or 200 inches is the length of the BMW 8 Series Gran Coupé. So this is 20 centimeters longer in wheelbase if you compare it to the two-door coupé of the BMW 8 Series. This one then here with some room on the rear compartment. We will of course experience that on the interior. The roof here, by the way, comes either in normal steel vehicle color, then there's a panoramic roof available, which we also have here, or you can get a carbon fiber roof then for some weight reduction. Yeah, okay, it's just visual. But yes, there is some weight reduction, but whatever for this car. Then 19 or 20 inch wheels. Those ones are the 20 inch, and also in the shiny black scheme. This very well fits as a big contrast here to the matte white color. You can see here also again with this shadow line package, everything in black. But usually you can get it also in chrome, same as also for the front grille, or in cerium gray for the front grille and some other accentuations if you have the 850i, the M850i. But this one here, well, maybe the most interesting engine for this car. I will soon tell you more about that. Then also in the side profile, pure design object. You can see here different dropping lines where the designer played a little bit with light and shadow. And then the falling roof. And although this one is the 4-door coupé, it still looks really sleek and elegant, especially then here with the with the cutout right there, and a very strong shoulder effect, which really plays a vital role also again in this matte color. And it's also interesting that the glass here on the rear is a little bit lower than the outside top shoulder. This is, a very interesting design object where the designers really, emphasized a lot on. So what's your take here on design of the 8 Series Gran Coupé, guys? Technology-wise, you also have a rear axle steering with the Gran Coupé. That means that when you drive slowly, the rear wheels turn up to 3 degrees to the opposite side than the front wheels, and at higher speeds in the parallel direction to give some more stability. And of course, at lower speeds, it reduces the turning circle, for example, and also gives you some more agility. And also optional, you can get an anti-tilt control or anti-roll control, so the car is a little bit more upright than also in the corners. Then design-wise, you can see here again horizontal stress, really beautifully done, and this integrated wing, let's call it that way, so it raises here and you don't need an additional top wing. So I think this is a very clean design. In the lower end then, contrast depending on which trim or which color pack you pick, the color you have then right there. And the rear exhaust on the inside, the outer part then is just the beauty tip. So there are 2 rules in a life as a car enthusiast for me when buying a vehicle. Rule number 1, if the car is available as closed top or convertible, always take the convertible. Rule number 2, if the car is available as rear-wheel drive and as all-wheel drive, take the rear-wheel drive. And that's why, when we're looking under the hood right here today, this is the engine you should actually go for. This is the base entry engine of the Gran Coupé. It's the 840i 3-liter inline 6-cylinder with 340 horsepower, 5.2 seconds acceleration figure to 1 kilometers or 62 miles an hour as rear-wheel drive. Okay, a little bit faster, 4.9 as X-Drive, which is optionally available, but I mean, go for the rear-wheel drive. Trust me. And then the same approximately acceleration figure would be for the diesel, the 840D, 3-liter R6 or inline 6-cylinder. And then you can also get the 4.4-liter V8 in the M850i. With 530 horsepower, 3.9 seconds is then the acceleration. Yeah, and there might be even something above that at a later stage. Yeah, okay, it's already confirmed. There will also be then the M8 with 600 or 625 horsepower, also then with the V8 engine, as I just mentioned. But as I said, this one here, the entry-level engine, and also lowest in price. In Germany, it's something above 90k, and of course, that's very, very expensive. But then again, you have a lot of extra equipment already on the inside. If you think about, getting a 6 Series or the GT, or also a 5 Series, which is like really high spec, then you can also almost reach those price regions. Still a very expensive car, of course. But this one here, 3,000 euros cheaper than the 2-door Coupé. And not only for that reason, but also, of course, the practicality. This one will be the most bought 8 Series version. So the Gran Coupé will dominate the market, even though it's a niche market, however. You can always get this big computer-like key. It's somewhat spectacular. You can also set the preconditioning and so on, but I always prefer actually the basic slim key because it just fits better in your pocket. Keyless entry, when you put your finger on the outside, you close it, or your hand on the inside, and wow, this matte paint always feels so great. It's even nicer to touch the car then. So, then of course, frameless doors. That's typical Coupé style, how it's supposed to be, and also a good advantage when you're getting in and out narrow parking lots. You have the window lowered and get out without just, having the door like this. And then you get out, hold the closing button on the key and raise the window again from the outside. Practical stuff. Then Hofmeister King inside door handle. Nice design element, retro style. Optional Bowers and Wilkins sound system. So this would be one of the rare options you could go for to have even more elaborate sound. Most of the other stuff is already included here in the 8 Series, gladly. There we go. Yeah, Jonas likes those sound systems. Then the M entry badge, because this one is the let's say M line just. It is not the M850i, but you can still get those, M Sport lines then even for the non-M Performance models. Also in here with the M steering wheel. Heated function is available. Left side control for the cruise control. Right side, for example, for the voice control. But you can also always start with Hey BMW. I'll show you some examples for that very soon. The only thing they did not think about is that more and more customers want to combine great luxury with sustainability or being animal friendly. And so far they only offer animal skin seats for this car. This will at some point change in the future and also for some future models. But for this model, as development already started in 2015, they forgot that in this case. So there's definitely something that is missing. But we'll test the comfort of those seats very soon, no matter of the material then in this case. So let's get inside. And well, how does it relate to other BMW models? Of course, you sit relatively low. You have somewhat of a sports car feeling. But it's not a small, agile sports car. It's a little bit wider, definitely. And the seat falls a little bit backwards. So I always recommend to put the seat a little bit higher than in general. So that gives you a little bit more comfort because you sit a little bit more upright. But let's start in lowest position as for the headroom. And especially with the panoramic roof, that comes quite very close here to the A-pillar because it's very flat. And then to the inside, with 1m86 or 6'1", it still fits. But there's not a good package for this car. So in the front, not too much room. And I always have to say that, it's not uncomfortable here. But considering the size of the car, I would appreciate a little bit more comfort here already in the front. We'll see how it plays out for the rear. Then the steering wheel can be adjusted here, electrically. Here we go. And everything is really flawlessly executed. As for the build quality, BMW really stepped up the game here. Also, the panel gaps and so on, the contour stitches. So really perfection in detail. That's what you really like and also appreciate when you buy such an expensive car. Well, subscribers will know that I really love those BMW wings design that were actually present in the exterior lighting before. And now it's still here on the interior lighting at the top ceiling. That's always a cool feature. And here you can also control the glass roofs. This one here in the front with the shade. And in the front, of course, it can also be opened like this. It's actually pretty wide, not too long, but pretty short here for this opening, but actually quite wide. And then here in the top, you can also open the rear shade. Now I close the front again, and you can better see what's going on in the rear. And then also rear passengers have a little bit more light. Interior overview, and today we start with the sound with the optional Bose & Wilkins sound system, and I have the sound information right there. Studio concert on stage. Cinema is my recommendation, and surround intensity all the way. And then you really also have a great surround sound, and I really like that. That's really cool. So definitely worth the extra then for music lovers. Great surround sound. Really like that. Nice. Yeah, but of course I want to tell you even more about this one here. So in general, with this cockpit overview, we have a 12.3-inch digital cockpit on the left and a 10.25-inch screen here on the right. And this is all standard. Head-up display also standard. Soon we'll take a look at that in detail. The climate unit is still somewhat manual, so you can adjust it right there. And that it is comes to life. So it's also good to control while driving. Heated and cooled seats are also available right there, and then it also appears in the menu that you can change it. You can also activate heating and cooling at the same time. What do you need that for? Wintertime, you're maybe wet from the rain at the same time, then you want to be heated but dried at the same time. So yeah, so that can be useful indeed. The middle console itself is really very voluminous, you can see here, and that also accounts for the rather caged-in feeling. You have not too much room in the front, but then everything is wrapped tightly in Sensatec leatherette. That's cool. Then you have still a metal knurled volume knob right there. Also on the passenger side, everything is clearly separated. That's also this, typical sports car like feeling. Then right there, we can open this cover, and there's inductive charging pad for your phone. CarPlay is also wirelessly available. I'll soon show that to you. There's a USB plug a USB-A plug, adaptive cup holders. Then you can also get this crystal shifting lever, which looks quite fancy. Everything is well integrated, picking the driving modes, also the camera button. And the touchscreen can also be controlled here with a normal lower control knob, with turning it and also pressing it. So redundant controls, that's cool, for example, while driving. And then we also have the armrest right there, which goes open in this split way, like this. And then there's another USB-C port, just, on the back side, and actually some reasonable space. Nice detail is here this frameless rear mirror, good view then, well, limited of course because of the building form of the car, but the mirror itself gives a good view and is really very well integrated here in this car. Then the infotainment screen, as I said, either with a control knob in the lower part, always push it up to get the CarPlay hotkey, for example, right there. And then you can see it's very well integrated also, and they use all of the screen they have there in total. Then you can get back to the BMW menu right there. The screen, sorry, I had to deactivate the split screen first, and now we can see the map in full glory, and it's really good for the processing power, so fast reaction times and so on, and GPS really guides us a very good way. Then continue on further with the touchscreen, for example, also the car settings right there. So everything is kept rather simple. This new 7.0 operating system being updated all the time, and it's getting a little bit easier and a little bit better to to control everything. Soon we'll talk more about the driving modes, because it also adjusts the shifting characteristics, also how the ESC is being operated and so on. And CarPlay can be used, yes, wirelessly here for BMW. Bluetooth normal connection would be possible, but they still do not offer Android Auto. Then you can also use the voice control. Hey BMW, drive me to Berlin.
I've selected Berlin. Is this our new destination, or shall I have it as intermediate destination?
Cancel. So you can see. Then you can also cancel it and keep your current route guidance. So that works, for example, for the GPS input, or for example, I think you have to turn on the engine for that. Hey BMW, please set the temperature to 23 degrees.
All right. I set the temperature in the driver's area on 23 degrees Celsius.
So that works, for example, as well. So more and more functionalities are added to this voice input. And a look at the digital instruments, which are not as adaptive as the one from Audi, for example, but they actually show you everything you need. Left side speed, right side the RPM, and Jonas is also allowed to rev it a little bit up. Yes. Way to go, Jonas. Then you can see, for example, your current music list or something. And also, because it goes counterclockwise, which is on the one hand unusual, it leaves space on the interior, for example, then for the GPS map. So that's quite handy, definitely. And the head-up display is among the best in the business. A clear visualization, speed, allowed speed, and also GPS arrows then when you have a route set. So BMW claims this should also be possible as a primary vehicle, suitable for everyday driving life. Is that possible? Let's take a look. Oh, by the way, door closing sound. It's the rear. Yeah, I think we heard it better, but that's maybe also a problem of coupés and convertibles, because they don't have the frame around. Then the door closing sound is also not that good. So then, instead of the doors in the rear, also the sensor tag leatherette has been used right there, really wrapped tightly, cool design. So you have this rear glass then, and then this one, and it has to lower a little bit, because when you close it, that it fits actually. There we go. Yeah, I think we have to live with that. And then the rear design, same as in the front. Big middle tunnel. The middle tunnel is also, by the way, where they also use carbon fiber. Some resemblance to the 7 Series platform, but the 8 Series is actually quite standalone. ISOFIX at the outsides, and interesting that they did not use any plastic covers for the ISOFIX, but they also used the soft materials. Yeah, in this case, again, it's animal skin, but they could also do it with leatherette. But I think it's an interesting idea not to just use plastic covers for that. So that's, again, attention to detail. And you can already see the two 8-door coupe, you cannot sit in the rear there. And it's different here with the 4-door coupe. That's also what this car is all about. So when I get inside here, I can actually sit in the rear as a tall adult, and I still have reasonable legroom. It is recommended to raise the seat in the front a little bit, first of all for your comfort, but then also you can put your feet under the seat, because when the seat is in the lowest position, you cannot put your feet under the seat. So that is recommended definitely. Headroom wise, yeah, I mean, if I sit a little bit monkey-like, this works. But when I put my spine up, then I do hit the ceiling with 1.86 or 6'1", but still I would say it works with 4 adults here in the car. So that's then the big advantage of this one, although we can agree on that it will not be a packaging wonder. So there are definitely other cars which use the exterior dimensions in relation to the interior better than this one here. Other than that, it's relatively cozy here, although the bench is folding a little bit backwards again. But for a design object, I think it's still somewhat okay. We have here also, by the way, the M seatbelts. This is also an option with the M colors. And, well, there's no way to flip those outside seats from here. That will be done with the trunk. But you can use a ski hatch right there already from here. And you also have those cup holders. So you have some cubby hole right there, first of all, and then also some cup holders right there, which are also somewhat adaptive. This car is also allowed for 5 people. You see there's also an additional seat belt right there, but it's more a single seat setup. And there's this huge middle console, and that's live on Autogefühl. Yeah. I mean, it works with your middle console between your legs. That's somehow feasible. But then again, because you sit high then in the middle part, I have to put my head through the panoramic roof or something. That's maybe just for emergency situations. And we can also take a look at this middle console in detail, because what you have here are 2 more USB-C supplies. And then you also have a separate climate unit. So when the car is powered, you have seat heating and also can adjust the temperature right there for the rear passengers. And even cooler with this diesel here for the Isofix car, by the way, is that it's being held back by magnets. So here, the Isofix, and then plop, magnet. So yeah, that's really nice execution. And as for the trunk, 440 liters, that's about 50 liters more than with the 2-door coupe, so you're a little bit more flexible. Of course, limited loading entry right there. In height, you can see, put some baggage in there, so cabin trolley, and the backpack also fits in like this, so this is actually no problem. And let me also give you a free view. Here we go, and some measurements as well. So the length here, normal length, is actually quite cool, 1 meters and 10, and the width, well, here in the very back part, this is about 1 meters 20 for those holes here. But other than that, you are definitely limited in the lower part here, which is only a little bit less than 80 centimeters, a little bit more than here in the upper part, which is rather like 90 centimeters. And the overall height here is 50 centimeters, and that's actually also quite significant, because there's no cover needed for this trunk, because it's low anyway. And you can also release the seats from here, and then you have to go around to flip them like this, 2/3, 1/3, or the ski hatch is also available. And then you can also load some longer things through, and that is then, let's see, to my seat as I would be driving. That's actually quite significant. I mean, it's a long car, so that's 1 meters and 90. Put in the sport mode, and welcome to the driving part in an agile way with the new 8 Series Gran Coupé. So that's what we have been looking for. Yeah, really decent sound here from this inline 6-cylinder. We're also a little bit more out in the countryside now, where you can push it a little bit just more. And with a good and neutral handling. Now at the higher speeds, the rear axle steering is rather steering in a parallel direction to give me a little bit more stability. Yet again, I can just stress that the car feels really agile, although it has this long wheelbase. So you do not feel that it's that long. And also if you compare it, for example, to, let's say, equal big cars in BMW, thinking about a 5 Series or a 7 Series, this one definitely feels more agile and is a lot of fun to steer around. And if you ask me, did we have much more fun than in the convertible or in the coupe with the 2 doors? That's a tough question. I mean, but I can really say that it's not too much compromise here with the longer wheelbase. Indeed, it still is really cool and fun to drive, especially on those winding corners. Also when it gets a little bit more narrow, actually no problem at all. So now on the brakes, yeah, good feeling also here for the brakes. And when it's a little bit calm and green, you go to comfort mode, the car shifts up actually. And then you're a little bit calmer right there. And as soon as you want to apply some more power once again, you can go to the sports mode, and then the RPMs go up again, the car shifts up later. You can always use the shifting pedals as well. I will also do that here now for you. So we go back to the sports mode. And then I can always shift down myself, there it is. And I can also exceed the RPMs a little bit more. And yeah, meanwhile, I really think I'm used to see the RPMs going up in the counterclockwise way. So no problems for that. Oh, some birds, attention to those always. And now the road is also getting a little bit rough, but wow, this adaptive suspension, although it's now in the sports setting, is doing a phenomenal job to still keep the comfort while driving sporty. And I really like that, you know, this compromise they could create here. So this, yeah, really very well done. This adaptive suspension, I can just stress it once more, that it's really, yeah, the best thing about this car. And I really can understand when this car is bought most from the whole 8 Series lineup, because it gives you just more flexibility as for the rear passengers and as for the trunk. But at the same time, you still have a lot of driving fun when you need it. Yet again, due to the longer wheelbase, a little bit more tranquility, also when running straight and being on the motorway and so on. And here you also feel, by the way, we're driving a little bit faster now, but I mean, there are some potholes, yes, but the road, the tarmac, is not as rough as, for example, on those Portuguese motorways here close by. So here we also have, again, the proven good noise insulation at about 90 kilometers an hour, which is allowed here on the countryside roads. And yeah, that's also I mean, we're going very fast here on those roads, not, exceeding the speed limit. But yet you can see there's a big difference then to the other cars, because I'm feeling so much comfortable. Even though the road is a little bit wet, we always have to be, more careful as for that. But still, you feel so comfortable and, so much in control of this car that you're also able to drive a little bit faster. Let's see if we can overtake here in a safe way. Yeah, I can see enough what's coming ahead. That's fastly done then. So always be very careful when overtaking. Always, you can need to see a couple of 100 meters ahead that someone is coming, especially motorcyclists. And wow, this is really amazing. So much fun. Now the pothole, no problem for the suspension. Although again, being in the sports mode, this is really amazing. So enjoying this ride so much. Crisp feedback also from the shifting pedals. This is really cool. And well, I really think it's like more fun than being on the racetrack. And this inline 6-cylinder sound, especially when we're now in the higher RPM regions, is also definitely enough for me. Yes, the 8-cylinder does sound a little bit better. We've driven this part here also with the 8 Series convertible, for example, with the M850i. 8-cylinder does sound better, but yet again, this rear-wheel drive is so much better to handle, I have to say. When I'm going out of the corners especially, it gives me more agility. Just circles the car around a little bit more, and it also makes sense in combination with the rear axle steering. So especially this combination, the entry-level engine, which has also less weight than the 8-cylinder, then the rear-wheel drive and the rear axle steering, this makes the car really more agile than it's, let's say, supposed to be, or than the length would actually promise, and that's a really cool thing. Wow. Oh, cyclist. Yeah, this just seemed to be a break. Was wondering, if there like some accident we would have helped, of course. So, but they seem to enjoy some meditation here at the mountain top. And this is also such a yeah, Jonas is laughing. Yeah, I like to joke, sometimes while driving, of course. Wow, such an amazing ride. How are you enjoying this one, Jonas?
Yeah, it's great.
You're getting sick already?
No. I'm just laughing about the guys doing a serious meditation, and we are disturbing silence.
We are disturbing. Yes. Sorry. Yeah, mea culpa. So we are definitely disturbing their silence with this inline 6-cylinder. Wow, that is such an enjoyable road. And I have to pay a little attention because the road is a little bit wet, but good traction also from those tires, and the 20-inch wheels also do not destroy our comfort or sporty balance or something. Of course, a little bit sportier with the 20-inch and would be a little bit more comfortable with the 19-inch, but the 20-inch still working very well. And now the next village, next dog, 30 kilometers an hour, relax again, and this is indeed, this span this car is offering between sportiness and comfort. And I think driving-wise, all the driving dynamics, we can just applaud. But what's really interesting, and this is actually the best spot here to test it, is the reverse or the reversing assistant. So when I'm, for example, going into this basement garage, and at some point I know getting out there is really, really tricky. And then usually going in here to the front is no problem. But then if we go back reverse here in this corner, for example, what about that? So frequent subscribers will know we had done that in the 7 Series, but it's also possible here. Then we activate the reversing assistant, and that's even available for 1 Series. Here the blue, the green indicators at the steering wheel. And now I just have put in the reverse gear, and I'm just releasing the brake. So I control the speed actually, and then the car is doing everything on its own. And whoa, it's really close to the pavement there. So I don't want to damage those precious 20-inch wheels, and you see the car does it very flawlessly, and that's really a big help when going in back a narrow way, in a reverse way. So that's really cool. You see here we still have about 25 meters left what the car has saved. Now I'm hitting the throttle a little bit, but I'm not doing anything at the steering wheel, obviously. So this is really a very cool function when having a huge car and being stuck in some very narrow situations. So very impressive to see that, how flawlessly this car is handling that. Now we still have 3 meters left, end of the route we will reach shortly, and we're just back where we started. Really nice. This is not a racetrack vehicle, this is more like an executive vehicle still. So the calm driving experience will also be very important, how the car is handling just in your everyday driving life. That's where we also focus on that here in Autogefühl, to show you a real customer experience. Therefore we also start here. And you have those driving modes that I told you earlier, normal comfort, that would be cool. You always get an adaptive suspension for the car, and you do not miss any air suspension, because this adaptive suspension by BMW, talking about BMW, this adaptive suspension by BMW is really awesome. So it gives you sportiness and comfort really at the same time. So I was really happy also with the setup here in the other coupe. Oh, there's, you know, see here the M850i for the convertible and for the coupe. Beautiful blue, Thomas blue color, isn't it? And an i8 here on display as well. So although we have some kind of cobblestones here, it's remaining very comfortable with a good clear view to the head-up display as well. And by the way, if you've seen some of the camera actions which were flickering, this display is not flickering the Apple CarPlay, but on the, you know, when I put in the map, it's just flickering on camera. It's not in real life. So because the action cam cannot be adjusted as for the shutter speed and so on. So don't have to wonder about that, just on camera. Here also when you're going over speed bumps, super comfortable, that's really cool. The longer wheelbase in comparison to the 8 Series two-door coupe gives the car a little more stability, a little calmer and just in running straight. At the same time, because we have the rear axle steering here, the car feels more agile than it actually, you know, is supposed to be. Let's call it that way. So that really helps here, especially at lower speeds. The car feels smaller as it is because this rear axle steering, so to say, fakes a shorter wheelbase, and that's pretty cool here also when going in an agile way. In the comfort mode, the steering is very light, but it does not have a dead area, so actually well done. It's just, you know, that's, you know, without any resistance, but that's good, for example, when parking in and out. And suspension, just I can mention that again, is probably one of the best things they've done here with that car. So the adaptive suspension by BMW, they're so great. And could also be an advantage not to go for the air suspension than in general, because air suspension take more maintenance on the long run. At some point when you want to repair them or something, they can get expensive. And so you're all fine here with the adaptive suspension. Really cool, and it's a lot of fun driving with the car. Also a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more settled than the smaller 8 Series models. So that brings a little bit more tranquility in this Gran Coupé experience which you have here. At the same time, you can get to the sports mode, and then you have the gears a little bit spiced up. The steering wheel feel is a little bit different, yes. So you have a little bit more resistance in the steering wheel, but it's still set on a comfortable note. And of course you can accelerate a little bit faster than out, and you got a little bit more sound experience as for that. Overall, a very calm experience. Also, as for the noise insulation is superb. We will soon also hit the motorway, and then we can talk more about that, how it behaves in rather fast you know, so surroundings. But so far, very calm, you know, a sovereign experience. I always like to call it that way. Maybe it's not proper English, but I think you know what I mean. I really like, you know, to use those descriptions. About seating, told you that in the interior part, I'm not super happy with the overall seating comfort. If we talk, you know, about, you know, a high level or high niveau, because for such a large car, I think maybe the seats should offer you a little bit more space, a little bit more comfort. And there are definitely cars where I felt better in comfort or cozier. So I think this is something they still have to work on with the 8 Series, together with the surfacing materials, definitely. So that's one thing to address. Other than that, it's really a very cool and cozy ride, and you always have the power when you need to. And especially with the rear drive, you can get a little bit better out of the corners, and together with this, whoa. Yeah, that's also live. Together with the rear axle steering, you can really push this car out of the corners. We will soon experience that when we drive in a little bit more agile way. Here again, so well done, even though when we're in the sport mode, you feel it's a little bit stiffer than going over those humps, but still comfortable enough. So I think they found a good setting here that you're, oh, there's an AMG GT, two-door, yeah. Now let's see about the brakes. Here also stop sign is indicated. Good braking feel as well. there was a visual indicator and also then an acoustic warning that you don't forget any stop sign. Also one of the elaborate features. At the moment I also see in the head-up display, although that you don't look at the flickering screen all the time, I have put away the map on the central screen, but still I have it in the instruments where I can read it, and that's even better in the head-up display when you have a route running and there's the next intersection. I literally get a map view on the head-up display which is really large and indicating me where to have the next turn. Here again the stop sign indicator. So the head-up display is also one of the best innovations. They probably let this truck pass by first. I don't do any damage to this car here. Oh, come on. So that's where you need a little bit more power for, that you can get some, you know, fast accelerations out. Yeah, sometimes even in the city when it's a little bit narrow, you know, Italians will know what I'm talking of. That's of course a lot of fun. It's not the most extreme sound from this 6-cylinder, but I think, you know, still with a low frequency growling, so you can have fun with that. And again, I feel a little bit more agile driving the rear-wheel driven car than it would be with the all-wheel drive, so I can just recommend that unless you're living in, like, you know, some harsh alpine conditions, but then maybe it's also not the right car for the winter time anyway. So I think you're just fine going with this engine and also with rear-wheel drive, and it will also globally be the most important engine for this car. So feeling quite comfortable here in the city. And again, with this rear axle steering, it's really good to get along here, although it's a big car and you have all the assistance systems, the elaborate camera systems and so on. So you're still, you know, still fine off by that. And now let's put it in sports mode. Then we directly get a better drive, and let's accelerate it out here on the motorway. And we go from about 40 kilometers an hour to, let's see, I think 130 is the maximum here, or 90 at the moment here. So from 40 to 90 first of all, and plop, that's already it. So you can see, this is definitely more than enough performance you might want to have. And you also heard something of the sound then here in the sports mode. The sound is a little bit enhanced in the sports mode outside and also on the inside. And if we want to relax a little bit more, we can go to comfort mode, enjoy the most comfort of suspension, get to the cruise control mode, set it here on the left side of the steering wheel. And this is also the assisted driving function. That would be the more elaborate one, where you can, let's move on to the left, where you can let the car do most of the stuff, not only, you know, accelerating, braking, but also the side steering. Here at the moment there's no middle line. They obviously need to repaint it or something, so that's of course not too good for the car. So now the car picked it up again. Yes, see here the car is keeping me in the lane, although of course a little bit confusing now without a middle lane, but still managing to do that very well. I'm surprised by that. So yeah, I did not control the steering wheel myself. Of course, you're still supposed to do that. So those are level 2 autonomous driving systems. So always keep your hand at the steering wheel. Now we also switched to the real motorway, but it always gave us a good impression that, you know, even though, which one is it? Is it this one or the other one, right? Yeah, sometimes it's better to look at the central map then. It gives you a more, you know, clear indication to where we're actually heading. Yeah, of course we're heading to Portimao, to the racetrack. Been there quite a lot of times. So now off here. Again, a good agile handling also in those corners on the motorway. Feeling very elaborate in this car once again. And here's also the anti-tilt control. See, the car is not leaning at all. Without getting too stiff or something. Do you need this anti-tilt control as an option? Yeah, I mean, here it's made for diesel, by the way. So in the smaller coupe or convertible, well, small relative terms, there you can only get it for the petrol engines for whatever reason, but here for all cars and in the Gran Coupé, yeah, I mean, you do not need it necessarily, but it's also a nice function, definitely. So we let this Mercedes pass, previous generation E-Class Coupé. Then we go to sports mode once again and see how the engine behaves when we already have picked up speed. Now 70 kilometers to 120, and let's go. Plop. That was already 130. So again, a nice acceleration performance. And once again, we set the cruise control. See here the distance to the car in front of us being kept. And also in this assisted driving mode, see here the car is being kept in the lane. Of course, this is just demonstration purposes. Please keep your hands at the steering wheel at all times. Always. Nice. So, and the lane change assist is not available here in Europe. Still possible to do that in the US. So we can also change the mode, by the way. So if you just want the cruise control, you click this mode button here and then you have the normal adaptive cruise control, but you don't have this lane keeping assist. But so far I have to say that it's not that intrusive. So we had other cars where it was more intrusive, definitely. So also now noise insulation wise, I mean, this road surface here is not really forgiving, especially here now this bright surface. Now we get to the darker one, you will feel it's changing in the sound. But overall, this motorway here usually leads to results where we would say, oh, the car is very loud. But it really depends always on the surface that we have here. So yeah, there's another one again where it's a little bit better. But overall noise insulation is definitely okay. And there's also today not so much difference when you have like the closed frames or no frames, because it's also very well done as for the installation right there at the inside of the doors. Again, is not the fairest benchmark to use those Faro closed Portuguese motorway roads, because they're really, really rough as for the surface. Then again, they're a little bit safer when it's wet, for example. So if you have a more silent and slick motorway surface, it really depends on, it's less loud, but then again, it's a little bit more dangerous when it's raining, for example. So that really depends on the compromise you're trying to find. But overall here also the high speeds, when for example doing a lane change here, the car remains totally stable and easy to control, so that's really cool. Again, suspension is probably the best thing about this very car. And again, a very, very confident ride here also on the motorway. What a beautiful view here north of Portimao at the Algarve coast, and in the distance I can also see the racetrack. Yeah, what about our conclusion here for today with the 8 Series Gran Coupé? It will be the most significant of the 8 Series from the global sales worldwide, and I can also understand why, because it gives you still some everyday usability with this rear space you have there for the passengers and also for the trunk length. But still, as we've seen driving wise, it is so much fun, so agile to drive, especially with the combination rear axle steering, then the rear wheel drive in this entry-level engine, which you should definitely go for. The 6-cylinder is enough power-wise, also a little bit less in weight than the 8-cylinder for the weight balance. And again, this one available as rear wheel drive only, and you could also enjoy that. That's the best then, because you can, get it out of the corners even a little bit better than. I was, really amazed by the fun driving experience, such a great handling for a rather long vehicle. So that was really a lot of fun, especially here up there in the winding roads. And the suspension is the best part of the car. This adaptive suspension they offer between comfort and sportiness, it offers everything. I really wonder how they could manage to do that. Also exterior wise, this 3/4 rear perspective is also a very interesting one, of course. I think really a great design object, so beautifully designed. That's also amazing, and in this matte white paint, also one of my favorites. Or maybe a nice Thomas blue as always, of course. The interior design is also quite cool, definitely. but very voluminous as for the middle console, so that doesn't leave you too much space. So yes, the package is bad, so you don't have too much interior space considering the exterior length you do have. So have to think about that. Even though you do have more space than with a two-door coupe, obviously, you still don't have too much space on the interior overall. And I think the seating comfort is, yes, good, so to say, but not as good as it's supposed to be with this size of the car. So I think, for example, the seat ergonomics with the BMW Z4, maybe even a little bit better than here. So that's the same I experienced with the two-door coupe and the two-door convertible. Maybe it's just a personal thing, but I felt that a lot of other BMW cars are more comfortable actually, also from the base seating position. And I think they could maybe tweak a little bit as for that. And also, of course, the seating surfaces, they should also offer some animal skin alternatives as they do in their other models, because also this can, not only from, conscious California car customers, also everyone else would not disagree with having more sustainable materials which are luxurious at the very same time. So yes, on the one hand, it's a little bit of a dinosaur car, definitely, but on the other hand, you can combine sportiness and comfort and this, really sensual design with still a part of everyday usability and being able to use it as a primary vehicle and not having, just a sports car and then just a usability car or something like that. And that's definitely a very interesting mix. So, which one would you actually go for from the 8 Series lineup? And would you also take my advice to go for the base 6-cylinder engine with the rear-wheel drive? Then please leave us that in the comments. Let's discuss this 8 Series Gran Coupé. And please also tune into more 8 Series reviews, also to the competitors of that one. If you think about an Audi A7, for example, or the Mercedes CLS, we get all of those reviews on Autogefühl. Just always use the YouTube search, Autogefühl, Mercedes CLS, for example, to find those reviews. Thanks again for tuning in today. See you next time.